especially across so many markets. How much weight or how much are you looking at fundamentals?
Oh, yeah, that's something I really take into account. Actually, there was a period when I didn't, because I do believe that markets lead fundamentals. So how could I explain this? I tell you, probably one of the biggest examples was the global financial crisis of 2007, 2008. If you go back to it on the S&P, there's a huge head and shoulders pattern building that was built. And it was obvious to anyone who knew about head and shoulders patterns that the market was going to crash if we broke the neckline, which we did. So that wasn't anything clever. It was just basic technical analysis. But I was telling Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, we've got this pattern and I think the market's going to crash. What could trigger that? And they were like, well, nothing really. There was nothing on the horizon economically. But when you go back at it, the stock markets are already trending down, because that's what a head and shoulders pattern identifies, the fact that we've got lower highs and lower lows.
Yeah.
We're already building you put a label on it and call it a head and shoulders pattern, but all it is, we're now getting lower peaks and troughs. So already, the market was dropping, and it was just a question of, would it accelerate to the downside? Would people trading on margin be forced to liquidate and whatever? And that's what happened. So sorry, I've gone off on. Oh yeah, so I do, but I studied economics at school. I did A-level economics, so I was already aware of fundamentals. And when you're on the trading floor, you have to, everyone's talking about, what do you reckon for GDP? In those days, it was the trade balance. That was the big one. Unemployment wasn't really a big number. Nowadays, of course, inflation is the big one, and then unemployment. Inflation, we never even bothered about in those days.
Has it always been the case where certain news reports will be the leading, impactful thing?
I think so, and they can be for a long period of time. Obviously, when inflation started taking off, what was it, 5 years ago? I can't really remember. That became the main number because, of course, that was driving Fed interest rate policy. But inflation was tame all through the 90s after Volcker in the, what was it 70s? Once they got inflation under control in the 80s, no one paid a blind bit of notice to it because it was constantly around 2%.